try just the live stream shut down for a moment. So if it does that again, either stay tuned or just come back. I'll keep trying to get through the whole thing. So again, greetings, good morning on this 18th of December. We are in the fourth Sunday of Advent, the fourth week of Advent. So this time that we have been spending and considering what it is that we wait for, what is to come. When we talk about Advent and what is to come, we are focusing on that second coming of Jesus, when Jesus comes again to usher in the full reign of God's kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. And so Advent is our time to remember that. And why we do Advent before Christmas is, again, because we recognize that Jesus's birth was the beginning of that fulfillment of God's kingdom. And so while we await for Jesus' second coming, we also recognize and celebrate that God has come once in the baby Jesus, right? All right, so today we are going to be listening to the birth story of Matthew in chapter 1. And I'm not going to say too much because I really am going to get into quite a bit of what we hear in the 8 verses of Matthew's birth story. But what I want to invite you to think about today, especially as we hear the message, as we contemplate the birth story, is to consider how Matthew in the birth story and even beyond in the second chapter and really all through his gospel, but especially in the first and second chapter, Matthew is making this statement about Jesus and the events around Jesus and how this is almost like a retelling of some of the stories or experiences of what we call the Old Testament. So there's some hearkening back to Moses, to the Exodus, to the Babylonian exile and the release from exile back to Jerusalem. And these are themes that I'm going to talk about over the next few weeks. And so I would invite you to begin today in listening to Matthew's story and to hear some of what might be underneath, like what is Matthew alluding to in this story? Why has Matthew chosen to only speak of Joseph? Why has Matthew chosen the genealogy at the beginning of the book instead of like Luke after the Jesus birth story? Just start asking some questions about Matthew and his gospel and his birth story. And then over the next couple of weeks, I invite you to be watching or participating in worship, because then I will start to give you some of those clues and to talk about, just how Matthew sees God's work in Jesus as a continuation of all that God has done and signals in a new way in which God is going to work into the future. And we are part of that future, right, in the 21st century. So it's really exciting. I have kind of renewed energy for this coming week. We have a lot that's going on, so it's good to have good energy. And so I also invite you, as you are contemplating the Gospel of Matthew, verse stories of 1 and 2, that you also invite you and consider taking part in our Christmas services this week. We do have on Wednesday evening our longest night service. So on the very night that is the longest, the 21st, the equinox, is that what it's called? The equinox? Anyway, first day of winter, longest night of the year. We kind of mark that Christmas isn't all merriment and joyful, especially for those who are grieving, or for those of us who kind of hold the world's pain and struggles so close to our hearts. And then on Friday night, we have Christmas Eve, which is more or less a Christmas Eve service, but we're doing it on Friday to kind of offer an opportunity, number one, to worship in the evening for those who really like the candlelight service in the dark. We do that on Friday night. Plus, you may be going away for the weekend and you could come to your church, Sunrise Church, whether you've been here before or not, and come on Friday night before you leave for the holiday weekend or before you get busy with family coming in. And then Saturday, we have our Christmas Eve service, which is our traditional service, and we're doing it at 3 p.m. We just want all the families to feel like they can come and it's not interrupting dinner and it's not, trying to get kids to sleep when we usually have it at 7 on Christmas Eve. Plus, we're going to have a Christmas Day service on Sunday morning at 10. And so to honor all of the volunteers and staff who work so hard to put together these wonderful services, we just spread it out over 3 days instead of additional services on Saturday. So there's what's going to be coming up. I just want to invite you to come to it. It's all going to be fantastic, great music. We're so blessed here at Sunrise to have musicians on staff and who volunteer to come and lead us. So today, Matthew chapter 1, 18 through 25 is our focus scripture. I'll be mentioning Psalm 80. So if you're watching this before worship and you want to take a look at those words of ancient scripture, I invite you to do so. But most of all, I just hope to see you in church. I hope to see you in person for sure at 10, but we also live stream, especially through our website, which is where I would suggest that you, where you settle in for today. So may the peace of God be with you. May you understand the joy of this season, even if you can't feel it at the moment. And may the rest of your day be the very best of your day. Go in peace. See you.